Hi, I'm Caden, here with my brother,
Cal,
and you're watching Eating W's.
eat the W.
That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W.
On today's episode of Eating W's, we have our NFL Week 7 predictions. Before we jump into the game, it's just a quick update on Cal and I's head-to-head pick'em game. We both had pretty good weeks. We picked very similar, so of course we were going to have both good or both bad. But I won that huge upset block doubleheader that was worth 4 points, a huge big 4-point swing for me, giving me a total of 11 points, while Callan only picked up 10 points, putting us at totals of 59 to 64. I make up 1 point on him, but lots of weeks left. So if I can make up 1 point a week, I'll be winning a lot by the end of it.
Yep, there's still a lot of ball game left.
One step at a time, truly. So now we will jump on to the game, starting with the Thursday night football game of the Jacksonville Jaguars heading into New Orleans to take on the Saints. And we start this episode like we seem to start every episode by agreeing we both have the Jacksonville Jaguars in this one. The Saints defense has been playing really well throughout these last couple of weeks, but I just think that their offense isn't going to be enough. This Jags team is still pretty young, still learning, but overall they're well-rounded. So I think that their offense is going to maybe struggle a little bit against the Saints defense, but I think that the Saints offense is never going to be able to get anything really rolling against this Jaguars defense. And it might be close by the end of it, but I feel like it's going to be one of those games where the score makes it look a little closer than it actually is. And the Jaguars are pretty well going to control this game.
Yeah, I think the Jags will win. One thing to look for is that Trevor Lawrence was one of those players that had a minor injury to leave week 6. So it'll be interesting to see if he plays. He is questionable right now, but he is optimistic to play, according to himself. Well, those are his words. So
no better judge than yourself. You know
right.
what you can do.
But I do think that the Jags will win. Their backup is C.J. Beathard, and Doug Peterson does really good with quarterbacks. He kind of has a system like Shanahan does. So I think that Beathard will fit in that system very well. But I think that Trevor Lawrence plays and he's able to lead a victory for the Jaguars over the Saints this week.
Yeah, and Travis Etienne has just been playing out of his mind these
Etienne's
past
been
couple
playing
of
very
weeks.
well.
So Lawrence or not, I think they're able to get something going.
And this will be the third game for the Jaguars in 12 days in 3 different cities on 2 continents.
Oh man, that's kind of brutal.
Yep.
That's a tough one. So now moving on, we're going to jump quite a bit down the list, all the way down to the Packers game, and the Green Bay Packers going on the road and heading to Denver to take on the Broncos. And we agree again, we both have the Packers in this one. The Broncos, man, it is absolutely insane. Russell Wilson cannot get anything cooking. Sean Payton looks like he's kind of lost out there, to be completely honest. The only time they were able to get anything rolling on offense was against the Bears defense, which isn't really saying much to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
It is just absolutely insane. Now all of the controversy with Jerry Jeudy and the way he's been acting both on and off the field, Denver's really just slowly falling apart, man. So I think that the Packers probably don't go out there and play elite football by any means. I don't think they go out there and blow them out, but I think they just take advantage of the bad situation Denver's in, and they're coming well rested off of a bye week.
Mm-hmm.
I got the Packers in this one.
It is likely that we get all of our players back, minus David Bakhtiari, who's out for the season, obviously. But everyone who had been hurt, Aaron Jones, Jair Alexander, Christian Watson, Elton Jenkins, we're supposed to have everyone back. Hopefully, we were supposed to have everyone back last week, but there was a setback. So it happens. It does happen. But yeah, the only thing that worries me is that Denver is a wounded animal, and those wounded animals sometimes they're the most dangerous ones. But I really think that the way that the Packers defense plays, they're kind of the veteran leadership of this team. I think they'll be able to overcome that Denver Broncos offense, which is just, like you said, been kind of lost through the last few games. And I as long as Jordan Love doesn't just throw the game away. That's all he has to do. He has to, I don't want to say game manage, but I'm going to say game manage. He just has to game manage through this, let the running game take over, take the passes that are given to you, and don't throw the game away. And I think that we'll be able to walk away with a victory here.
2 or fewer interceptions, Packers win. 3 or more interceptions, Denver wins. That's a good point. I think that's probably what it's
I'll
going to
take
come
that.
down
Those
to.
are Favre numbers.
Favre. 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Yeah, that's some Favre numbers right there. So now moving on to our game of the week in an AFC West divisional matchup with the Los Angeles Chargers heading into Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. And this is our game of the week, and we not only agree again, but we even agree that it's an upset. We both have the Chargers in this one, both have it marked as our upset. When I make this, I look at the schedule, I decide who the game of the week is and mark it. I make my picks, and then I open Callan's picks and put his picks down. I made this the game of the week. I picked him as the upset, and then I saw Callan picked him as the upset. Complete coincidence. Crazy the way that worked out, but that's how it fell in this situation. Herbert looked bad last week in Monday Night Football. They had every opportunity to win that game, and he just was not able to get it going against the Cowboys secondary that really shouldn't be as good as it is. I'll give them props that they are playing better than they should be right now, but without Trayvon Diggs, without a couple of other players, Herbert should have just been able to absolutely torch him, and he did not. So in classic NFL fashion, the same scenarios that I've been following all season, I think that he is going to do the dead opposite on Sunday. I think he's going to let that poor performance kind of light a fire under his ass. He's going against a divisional opponent, which he's always able to step up for anyway. And I think that he very much outplays Mahomes in this one, and that the Chargers not only win, but kind of dominate. Give me 10 plus points, even in Kansas City.
Wow, 10 plus points in Kansas City. Kansas City is a hard place to play. I think the Chargers will win, but I don't know if they'll win by 10. I see this coming down to a field goal at the end, or maybe a last possession, whoever has the ball last possession kind of game. But I do like the Chargers in this one, especially coming off of kind of that poor game. I think they have a bounce back game against the Chiefs here, who, even though has been playing stellar defense, has been kind of overachieving along with, when you talk about the Dallas Cowboys secondary, the Kansas City Chiefs defense has kind of been overachieving as well, with not very many superstar players and always the defense being a weak point for the Chiefs in the past. And the offense has not been in sync that well. I think that the Chargers defense is able to give Mahomes issues, and I think they force him into a couple of turnovers, and I see the Chargers winning this game.
Per usual, we all know what it really comes down to, whether Taylor Swift is there or not. All right, so Taylor Swift doesn't have to be there anymore. It's just whether Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are still together is really what it comes down to. And
yeah, it didn't matter in Minnesota.
Unless they break up by like Thursday or Friday, it's going to be tough rolling for the Chargers. So now moving on to Sunday Night Football and the Miami Dolphins heading to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. And we finally disagree on this one. Callan has the Dolphins. I have the Eagles. And it is a battle of former Alabama quarterbacks now. Of course, a few years ago, I want to say 2018, 2019, somewhere in that area, Jalen Hurts was the Alabama quarterback. And then in the national championship game, he got benched, which led to Tua coming in and having one of the biggest comebacks in a national championship game ever and winning the game for Alabama, which then led to Jalen Hurts transferring to Oklahoma. Tua went 5th overall. Jalen Hurts went in the 2nd or 3rd round. He became a day 2 pick. Lots of history for two guys who I'm pretty sure are friends. I think they still talk like all the time.
I believe that they do. They're not like, there's no hostility that I'm aware of.
So it's funny that the huge storyline is this like huge competition and Jalen Hurts revenge, but these guys are like super close. But nonetheless, I have the Eagles in this one. I think that the Miami Dolphins are able to just absolutely steamroll bad teams when they face them. But when they face the good teams, i.e. the Bills, they really start to struggle a little bit more. The Bills were able to hold them to only like 20 points or whatever it was and pick up a win. And the Eagles and the Bills are very similar teams in my eyes, just from different conferences. So I think that the Eagles are able to do something pretty similar to what Buffalo did against the Dolphins and are able to at least minimize the points and put up enough points against that defense to get a win.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think the Dolphins offense will be able to score more points on that Philadelphia defense. The Philadelphia offense has been out of sync and has definitely had some turnover trouble with Jalen Hurts throwing 3 interceptions. So this will come down to how well the Miami Dolphins defense is able to play against that Philadelphia offense. And I think that the struggles continue for the Philadelphia Eagles, who have been out of sync kind of all season and have just gotten away with certain games, turnover battle going their way kind of deal. But last week, not so much for them, and it really showed, made a difference. So I think that the Dolphins are able to score a lot of points on the Eagles, and they walk away with a victory.
Interesting. Okay, and then finally we got our Monday Night Football game, including the Minnesota Vikings, with the San Francisco 49ers heading into Minneapolis to take on the Vikings, and we disagree yet again. Kellen has the 49ers in this one. I have the Vikings. Man, does this game make me nervous, and does the fact that I pick them make me even more nervous? Yes, it definitely does. I do like the Vikings odds here. I think that we've been playing way below what we should be playing as. I think we finally start kind of stepping up. We got a week now, last week, to adjust to not having Justin Jefferson in our offense. But KJ Osborne and Jordan Addison both stepped up and took that bigger role. I was really happy the way they were able to fill Justin Jefferson's shoes. So we'll have to see if they can continue to do that against this 49ers defense, which is, of course, going to be much better than the Bears defense. But the reason I was willing to pick the Vikings in this one, I should say, is that the 49ers offense is very beat up. Trent Williams left the game last week and did end up coming back in the same game, so he very likely will play but won't be at 100%. But both Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuels left the game last week and did not return, and their status for this week, Monday Night Football, is still very much up in the air on whether they'll play or not. It's going to pretty much take both Deebo and Christian McCaffrey not playing for the Vikings to have any sort of a real good chance without it being like a crazy, insane upset. But I think there is still always that chance for the insane upset, and I think there is a pretty decent chance that both Deebo and McCaffrey are sat for at least 1 week to let them heal from that injury. 49ers kind of take a safe rather than sorry route and give the Vikings a chance to win it.
Yeah, I think one of the only chances the Vikings have is if they don't play McCaffrey or Samuel. But it also will come down to which Kirk Cousins shows up. Will you get primetime Kirko chains, or will you get early to bed, early to rise primetime Kirk?
Early to bed, early to rise. It is really two faces of the same man.
It is. And so if you get the bad Kirk, the one who's ready to go to bed by 6 p.m., then it's going to be an early night for the Vikings, I believe, and they might get shut or blown out in this one. I don't think they'll get shut out. I think they'll get some points. That offense is still very explosive, even without Justin Jefferson. But I think that 49ers defense, which continues to be number one even after the loss, was just too much for any offense to overcome. And the Browns did show a bit of a blueprint on how to beat that defense. But with the way the Vikings have been turning the ball over, the 49ers are one of the top turnover causing defenses. I think there's going to be a lot of turnovers for the Vikings, and they're going to heighten that number from the most giveaways in the NFL.
I think we have to have our first game with 0 turnovers to have any chance here. I do agree with that. But I mean, when you're averaging like 3 turnovers a game, you got to have one with 0 eventually. It's got to happen eventually. So why not make it this week? So that was our predictions for week 7 of the NFL season. Thank you all so much for watching, and make sure you stay tuned in until next week. But until then, don't forget
to eat the W.